Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another podcast here at Higher Fire Inspire. As usual, this is Liz. I am the host at this podcast, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Of course, this is a Lizanne Careers production. The topic for today, I'm going to jump right into it because I'd like to focus on the conversation. I think this is going to be a long one. The topic for today that we're going to be talking about is, can you follow your passion while having a career? Now, for everyone that knows or has listened to other episodes of the podcast, you know that it's all about talking about career growth, it's talking about different industries, it's talking about work life balance. We're going to be covering everything on the spectrum when it comes to work, right? And that is a lot of content right there. Today, what I wanted to talk about is something that I have been experiencing for a very, very long time through my experience as someone who has a business, who has worked for other people in the past, been part of a very high paced industry. I worked in recruitment for temp labor, I worked in recruitment for permanent hires, and sometimes it's a very, very pressurizing job because your clients are constantly, wanting you to give them talent immediately, like yesterday, right? Today I have a very special guest as well, someone actually who I met through my recruitment journey. I've got Srinivas today. I'm going to get him to introduce himself later on. And I met Srinivas through a company that we were working with. It's a digital agency by the name of Connect. He used to work there as the head HR when we were hiring for them. I also have to mention this. I started Lizanne Careers as a freelancer a very long time ago in 2014, and only in 2019 is when I set up a team and the whole office. And during my time in a country like India, I haven't really come across a lot of good HR people. I'm going to be super honest. But Srinivas is definitely one of those people that I was super impressed with when it came to knowing exactly what he wanted, knowing exactly how the team works. He was so sure about the culture, which really made it so easy for us to be able to recruit for him. So that was something that I really wanted to mention, how important it is to have an HR person who's sort of part of that culture, sometimes the person who drives it, who gets it, and it's very easy for us then to go out and look for someone. So first of all, before I go into, a few details about what we're gonna be talking about today, I'd like Srinivas, whatever he likes being called Srini, he just told me that, to introduce himself a little bit and talk about his career graph. And then we'll
Sure.
deep dive into it. Hi, Srinivas.
Hey Liz, thank you so much for having me here. And wow, those were some words. Like I feel flattered. But
It's all true. I
yeah.
promise it's all true.
And the funny thing is that I am an accidental HR.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I got into human resources accidentally. Because I mean, of course, I've spent a good amount of time working with Connect, which is one of my favorite workplaces even today. And most folks who leave Connect, they say Connector forever. So I will always be a Connector forever. But yes, I think my human resources journey and association with you guys was, although brief, but I felt that, being in an HR space, you have to understand the business side of things, which I had the experience of while working at Connect, because I spent a good 8 years there, and
Yeah.
I was also part of business in terms of strategy, client servicing, ORM, and a whole host of other things. So it
Awesome. Yeah.
helped me understand the mindset of people who work on the business, and that helped me do a good job from an HR standpoint. Though that was never my long-term goal.
Yeah.
But accidents happen.
But
and
how long was this accident for?
5 years. So
I just had to mention that.
Yeah.
It's just a testimony of you being so passionate about and being involved in it to that extent
Right.
where it just felt like the right thing to do, which I completely get. Like accidents can last for a long time.
True.
Good accidents.
True, and in a way, I met so many interesting people, including you guys,
Yeah.
your team.
Yeah.
Did a fabulous job with
Thank
us,
you.
and I
Thank
enjoyed that part as well. So a little bit about myself. I will give you a short brief. I've sort of donned many hats in different companies, and I've spent about 22 years, I think, now working. I started at the age of 19.
We don't want to give your age away, Srini. It's
Well,
alright.
if my looks don't give it away, then yeah. Well, anyway, I'm proud to be, the millennial who's also Gen Z, so to speak, because of the way I, understand new trends and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm passionate about a bunch of things which, are beyond just age is just a number.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So yeah, I started off, back in the day when I was first off, I was in the communications, space, in the sense I did corporate training and development for call centers back then.
Oh,
BPOs
wow.
were big,
Yeah,
early,
yeah.
and early in that industry, booming. So I spent a good 7-8 years there, and post that, because I had a flair for writing, I took to blogging about in 2005, and I said, you know what, let's use this, because I'm enjoying writing. I'll use this to kind
Yeah.
of as a career opportunity. In 2010, I decided to take a move from training and development and pick up something which gave my writing skills a place, in a
Oh,
sense.
that's awesome.
So I joined a digital agency called Social Wavelength, which is now WPP owned. It's part of the
Yes.
WPP network
Yeah.
called Miram Global. There I spent good 4 years. I did a whole host of writing, and during that process, in fact, I also started travel blogging. And thanks to my employers, or my founders, I got the opportunity to travel across the country, and I started a travel blog, did a few travel videos. Those kind of things kept me busy while I'm not at work. And then I got into, like, I spent a good 4 years to understand how the digital ecosystem works.
Yeah.
I learned myself. And then I moved into Connect, where I like, when I joined Social Wavelength, there was a team of 20 odd people. They grew to about 200 people. I understood,
Amazing.
I learned.
Yeah.
And then I moved into Connect, which was again a small setup, but here the advantage I had is I understood the digital
You already
space.
came with all of that
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah. So now it all made sense. You could tie
Correct.
it all in together.
Yep.
All right. So, Srinivas, from here, I'm going to deep dive into our topic because, like I said, I'm excited because I know that we're going to have a lot to talk about. So, I've made, I wanted to just sort of introduce what we're going to be talking about, right? Like, I feel like everyone tells you at some point of your life, or you'll read it somewhere, the biggest quote that we see everywhere, the most famous one is, do what you love and you won't have to work a single day in your life. Like, who hasn't heard this, right? And there is this constant, I think, dilemma of, should my passion be my work? Can I have my passion and have work? No, once I have a job, I'm not going to have time for passion. I feel like this new, I don't care what you call it, millennials, Gen Z, whatever, anybody I think who has a job right now is in that constant sort of, tap dance about, oh, if I work, then I don't have time for my passion. If I have passion, then I don't have time for my work. Can I mix my passion and work together? And all these sorts of questions, which are legit questions, right? And we've all heard these amazing motivational speeches. I mean, Srini, do you listen to motivational speeches on like YouTube?
Been there, yes, I have. And I've given some myself.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so,
also
yeah.
correct. Yeah, that's right. I have to say that every time I'm going to do something important, and this is like an insight to me, every time I'm going to do something important, sometimes even when I'm very nervous about a podcast recording or something new that I'm going to do on my way in my car, I will listen to motivational speeches. Okay. Now, these motivational speeches, once you listen to them, you're so hyper and you're so pumped up, and you're like, yeah, I can take over the world, and I can go and run a marathon, or maybe like paint a masterpiece right now and they feel so good. All of these people are not only talking about passion and go and do what you love and do it like this, and have this passion and wake up in the morning and encourage yourself and discipline and consistency, but they also talk about passion.
Yeah.
They talk about how important passion is. It's a driving force. It really helps you sort of be who you are, feel good about yourself. Also, I've been doing these podcasts for a while, and we're talking about workplace balance, there being an issue with that. We're talking about mental wellness. We're talking about pressures at work. We're talking about people really not knowing what they, all the other
Yeah,
parts of their
they're
life.
part of the industry or the ecosystem that we have
Yeah.
built in.
And these are all human issues that
Sure.
have now, like, people are starting to talk about it, right? So even though we listen to all these motivational speeches and we feel really pumped up, we're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Then reality checks in. After 2 or 3 weeks of doing this and painting and writing a song or working on a song that you like in terms of like composing music or whatever you like to do, and then you're like, oh wait, you know what, I can't go play tennis 3 times a week because there are some meetings sometimes that happen till that go on till late, and I can't make time for this. So I can't do my yoga in the morning because I have to start work at 9 o'clock in the morning and I don't have time to pack my lunch and everything. You start doing it and then it falls off,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you hear a lot of people saying, and I have to say, I think I need to be a little bit more sensitive about this thing that people say. I do not have time. Every time I speak to someone about what they love, and I'm like, why aren't you doing it? It's like, I do not have time, right?
Right.
To
That's
me,
true.
I have this, I'm a little bit strict. I'm like, people who don't make time do not have time. That's how I see it. But that's why I said I think I need to be very sensitive, because that's why, Srini, we're going to have that discussion
Sure.
today about what are the things that come into play when people say they don't have time, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, the funny thing you should mention that is time is constant for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? You
It's the
have
same amount of
exactly
time.
24 hours every day for everyone.
Correct.
It's how you utilize it to your benefit
Yeah.
is what matters.
Yeah,
eventually.
and we're going to dive into that like once we get into the questions. But this is just some of the things that I want to highlight to our
Sure,
listeners. Like,
sure.
what are the things that are going on, and give them sort of a foundation for what we're going to be talking about. And I'm a really big believer that like humans need to create stuff. In our DNA, in caveman days, that's what we did. That's what drove us to do better. That's what made us evolve. We
Yep.
created stuff and we were happy. I'm like, okay, what next? What next? What next? So if you as a person are only going to office, and if you're, maybe if you're a graphic designer, then you still feel a little because you're creating stuff. But if you're not really doing other things that you're passionate about, you may fall flat. Now, one of the things that I talked to you about before we started this podcast is this is a really important thing for me when I'm hiring people in my office. I always ask them, what do you do for fun? If they don't do anything for fun, that worries me a little bit, because I'm like, what is giving you joy in your life because of which you can come to work and enjoy all those non-joyous parts that we have, right, in our daily life? So these are some of the things that, I
No, it's
thought
also the
about.
fact that nowadays people will not have something that they are really
Yeah.
passionate about. Everybody, this whole information age has given us access to so many things with all the social media.
Correct.
Now I'm in the web3 space, so a passion for finding new things in that space. And of course the fact that you can create your own content and at the same time follow your passion. If you like playing the guitar, if you like singing, if you like doing a whole host of things, you have an outlet to kind of showcase that to the world, which we did not
Absolutely.
have before.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very unlikely that people may not have something that they're passionate about, but it's a good thing that you as a founder is looking for these things in their
Absolutely.
team. So that's
yeah,
great.
because I think that's what keeps you balanced. And I'm not saying that I'm going to discriminate against you if you do not have a passion or you do not have a hobby. But to
Yeah.
me, somebody who has a hobby is somebody, first of all, who's organized, who has time for other things, who's not just all work, work, work. That means their time management skills are good. They have other things that drive them, right? Because when you're hiring somebody, you don't want a robot, you want a whole human that is, full of other things
Sure.
as well. So we're going to dive into our first question, and you already started a little bit about it. Doing what you love. Do you even think that it's possible to have a career and do what you love at the same time?
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
If anything, the pandemic has been the testament to this happening across the globe. All right. And the whole concept of not having time was probably true in a sense. I will be sensitive about the fact that it's a mindset that people have. It's very difficult to kind of juggle between a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I really understand and appreciate mental health and the fact that, there'll be times when you are down, you will realize that, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but it usually ends up on the back burner, so to speak, or in the parking lot of your things to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the key things I feel is important, which I think I have done in the past, helped me, is to find an understanding of, okay, you know what, this year I'm going to do X, next year I'm going to do Y. So you may not want to do 10 things. All right, and it's okay that the end goal isn't something big, or sometimes people think that, hey, listen, I want to become a YouTuber and probably make that as a living. It's very much possible, and I've seen
Great.
people do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I've met people in the space, and I remember, Ranveer Beer Biceps, right?
Yeah, Ranveer.
He
Ram, is it?
no,
Okay.
yeah, Allahabad, yeah.
Allahabad.
Right. He I met him long back. He was all into fitness at that point in
Yes.
time, right? We
Yes.
had got him on board at Connect to do a session for our firm, like and nice fitness exercises.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a YouTube channel, and he was passionate about starting something in that
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
And from there, he's gone to becoming a content creator of various kinds. He has his own podcast.
Yeah.
He meets a lot of interesting people. Probably at that point in time, and he said, yes, I want to do all of these things, but he did not have like a end timeline necessarily.
Yeah.
He was just passionate about doing things, and
Yeah.
he did it.
Yeah.
He's one example, but there are many people
Done.
who I've seen, especially in the pandemic, and whom I have met, interacted with also, who've actually taken to one step at a time,
Yes.
doing stuff,
Yes.
and of course they found the time. And of course there is always this whole social stigma of, what, if I'm doing something on the side, will it affect my job? That's something which people think of, in the ecosystem that we used to live in before the pandemic.
So
Right?
ancient. Such
Yeah,
an ancient
yeah.
concept. Yeah.
And what I feel today, it's much different than how it was before in the industrial age. So, an interesting story.
Yeah.
The whole concept of clocking in and clocking out 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or whatever, that concept was a popular concept from the industrial revolution
Yeah.
or industrial era.
From the manufacturing place, right?
Exactly.
Because you're measuring products, and like
Products.
units of productivity.
Exactly,
How many
exactly.
pieces were packed in like an hour? So you
Right.
needed that time to see
Henry
how many-
Ford is the one to blame or to give testament to,
Yeah.
in that sense, where how many cars are manufactured in a
Yeah.
given time span. That's why he had this whole punching in, punching out
and
back in the
productivity
industrial age.
was immediately connected to how many hours
Yes.
a person was able
Yes,
to
because
work.
because
Yeah.
they were literally sort of machines, right?
Yes.
You were literally creating horses. That's why the
Absolute
horsepower
horsepower,
term,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You were creating fast cars who would take you places that
Yeah.
horses won't. And how many cars you sell is how many
Yeah.
dollars you earn, and so on and so forth.
Correct. So it was based on
But it's
that
not like
whole
that
concept.
now,
Yeah.
right? It's information age is all about how do you use your creativity, how do you use your communication skills, how do you present yourself to your management or founding team, or like how you become a key, I use this term from Seth Godin's book called linchpin.
Yeah.
Right? Back then, people were cogs in the machine.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
One cog goes out, another one fills in
Fills
because
in.
it's laborious task that one has to do.
Yes.
Anyone can do it.
Yes.
But if you are using your creativity, your unique selling point, in a sense, you have a talent or a skill that can actually come in handy in today's day and age. If you're a good designer and you like creating art and illustration, that actually gets you a job. People do freelance gigs and whatnot, right?
Absolutely.
So it's in the information age. It's also about, let's say, if you identify your skills are X, Y, and Z. It could be drawing, speaking. It could be something to do with any kind of sport that you're following.
Yeah.
I'm big into esports nowadays. So people I've seen, are getting paid to just basically stream content. They are
Yeah.
getting brand partnerships
Yeah.
because they are good streamers and they are good players and whatnot, and they are making money out of it. And
Yeah.
that's an industry that's growing.
So new,
Right?
so foreign to me, because you know how tech, you know how much I know about tech. You've already seen it while setting this up today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so I think in today's day and age, we are no longer living. And it was long back. It's just it took us the pandemic to understand that, hey, listen, people can be trusted. And of course, there are times when people have to come to work, meet, and
Yeah,
do whatever.
yeah.
But you can always, cultures and environments, and even at Connect before the pandemic, the work culture, in a sense, was that we understood and trusted the fact that, hey, this person is given this task, they are going to do it, and if they do it, great. If they don't, then we will kind of coach them and help them do it better. If it's a skill issue, will issue, whatever. So I feel at work, if you are really good at certain things, make that your wear it like an armor, and use
Yeah.
that somewhere
Yeah,
in that sense, so it helps.
absolutely. And I love what he said. I think trust, first of all, does magic. If
Yeah.
you trust your employees, and of course, you have performance trackers, you have
Right.
targets, you have
Right.
numbers which you can use to see if
Right.
someone's not performing.
Right.
That conversation is completely separate. But you do not have a standard rule where everybody is under the microscope because
Sure.
you're scared of one person who's not productive or not competent, right? Because
Yeah.
you're missing out on all your employees then having a good experience with you just because you're worried.
In fact, you mentioned that, nowadays the term employee is obsolete. In fact, I was listening to the last podcast of yours.
With Arjun Vaidya.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Arjun Vaidya. He said, we don't have employees.
Yeah.
And I also, like a lot of founders, good, successful founders, believe in that concept of not having employees. I remember this term I had heard on Twitter, I think, and I used it to kind of carve out that culture and philosophy. We actually did, my founder and I. Don't hire employees, hire entrepreneurs with attitude.
Also,
Right? Like an
Yeah.
entrepreneur is, maybe you don't have funding, and rather you don't have a skin in the game in terms of money invested.
Yeah.
But you are that entrepreneur within the ecosystem or in the company, and that's the
Yeah.
linchpin that I was talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You give that kind of ownership to people, then people will love doing what they do, and they will in fact they'll use their skill sets to kind of do better at their job, and they'll be happy about it.
Correct.
That's one thing. And if a culture is that kind where you encourage self learning, self growth, personal development beyond what you're doing at work, at Connect we started this interesting concept called Get a Life.
Yeah.
It was more about people focusing and finding time. We rewarded them to
Yes.
kind of take time out, be fit. We had like a whole fitness program where people got rewarded to go to a fitness studio or a gym or whatnot, and it's not part of your regular wellness allowance which is given once a year.
And then
in
we
your
don't care what
CTC.
you're doing.
Yeah, we don't care about it. It's not that. It's over and above that. We were incentivizing people to go to the gym. We had a tribe. We had a group. We used to have sessions at Connect where
Yeah.
people used to get that fitness
Yes.
sessions, and people used to bond over that and those kind of things. It's a lot. Onus is then on the employer or the business to even do something like this. In fact, now I'm in a remote setup. I work with EPNS Project, which is a Web3 firm, which is sort of a de facto native communication layer for Web3. In a sense, if you have notifications and apps and stuff
Yeah.
in Web2 on your phone, that concept didn't exist until these guys built it for crypto wallets to talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's a completely remote company, right? And we have team members sitting outside of India, and I mean, it's Indian founders, but we have a global team. We are a global team.
Yeah.
And we essentially connect remotely, and we have the trust in each other to kind of deliver on our tasks.
Yeah.
As long as the tasks are done, there's no micromanagement required, right? So those kind of things will enable people to even say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing my stuff, I'm working my hours, I'm also spending time to do my other thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps a lot
Oh,
from
yeah.
time to
I
time.
think putting ownership on people and allowing them to make decisions is the most empowering tool anybody could use in any kind of relationship, whether it's a co-worker relationship, whether it's an employer-employee, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a vendor-supplier relationship. Just putting ownership and trusting the person changes the whole game in terms of
True.
how you do it. Of course, this has to be earned over time, but you have to sort of start that cycle basically of being able to trust people. And micromanaging is only going to, for founders or managers or whatever, is going to increase your work and not
Absolutely.
let you focus on the things that you can actually do. Me sitting here today, I have a blog, I have the podcast, I also do the events, the Founders Table. And I have to say that the only reason I can do it is because my team is so trustworthy. Like, I've obviously put my trust in them, but they've also been able to deliver. I don't even have to look into anything that they do. Of course, I have eyes on everything, only to mentor them, to help them get better, to help them grow, to come, because I need to be part of the operations to know what the issues are.
True.
That is the only reason, but not because I don't trust them. I'm going to check what they're doing and check what time they came in and check what time they leave.
Oh,
and
that's so ancient.
I would never be able to do my job and all of these other fun things that I want to do, which I'm passionate about, right? If I was doing that.
No, makes sense completely. In
Yeah.
fact, what I believe is that if you have to scale, all right, most often than none, large businesses, this is a standard average that you scaling beyond 500 is a little difficult, right? You can do 100, 200, 300, whatever. Scaling beyond 500 is difficult because there are so many layers and structures that are created, right?
Yeah.
And what folks fail to realize sometimes it's that they are all humans, right?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, in today's day and age, we've heard this a ton of times that you don't need to just work to earn money. I want to do something that I'm satisfied with. People do believe in that. Everyone, so right from millennials to Gen Z and yuppies and everybody who's in the corporate world or a startup or any place, they really want to feel satisfaction out of the work they do because they are enjoying it and not just to achieve a certain set of results, whether it is sales, whether it's servicing, whether it's marketing, whether it's whatever have you. So that's something which I feel people have realized we should be doing. We should be encouraging the folks who are working with us to have the time or have the bandwidth, have the mind space to be able to do these things.
Correct.
And it's to answer your question, it's very much doable if we have the right kind of environment and founders themselves believe that, hey, this is something which will in fact help retain the talent, at the same time help who knows, I mean, we've found so many interesting content creators within our companies, and we've realized that there are certain skill sets that X person has. They can use it to the work place and they'll feel happy doing it.
Yeah.
Right. For example, I've been doing training and development and corporate training, and on the side I used to go train at IID, which is like a digital school in India.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And I used to do that, and it used to help benefit us because I used to scout talent from there.
Correct.
Now, recently, when I joined EPNS project, I took up, we do Twitter spaces every 15 days.
Yeah.
Right. So I led a couple of Twitter spaces because I love public speaking and talking.
Yeah.
And it was a fantabulous experience talking to so many people and being out there. My founders encouraged me doing that, and they loved that, and they've sort of given that, opportunity to me. So I feel, great doing these kind of things while I'm actually working on
and
other
you can
tasks.
bring something back from the things that you're passionate about. So, just going back very quickly to what I said when I hire people with other passions. So, for example, I have a team. David, he plays the guitar. I've got Conrad, who does photography. I've got Aurelia, who's a yoga instructor.
Nice.
So
You have a versatile team.
Yeah. So, but guess what happens when I need someone to do like company photos or somebody to so David is always playing the guitar for me at my events and stuff like that. So because I give him that opportunity in that platform, he brings something and he loves it. Also David, because he's a singer songwriter, he's got really good voice modulation, and he's just somebody who's very passionate about learning. So he does all of my training internally.
Nice.
And the training sessions that he does, people are blown away by them because
Super.
he's so in touch. So passion can really, whatever you're passionate about, it could be like you said, doing research, or some people just love watching videos on YouTube constantly to learn. And
Right.
that could actually be somebody who comes in and maybe runs any kind of training, or wants to maybe make a video, part of a video, because they've watched so much stuff of it. Some people love doing events and hosting events at home. They're the ones that are making these making plans for games night and stuff. Include them in your employee engagement activities, because they'll feel really good about it and they'll take charge.
Right.
So as a manager, and you're right, I think after you reach the 200-300 people as a founder, it's very hard to look at everyone. But as a manager, you should be able to pick up on all these things and encourage them. But then again, you have to hire the right people for that in the first place. And you can call us up for that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good plug.
So I want to move quickly to the next question, because Srinivas, I know that you are around this, we're talking about this and you're almost there. But like I said, reality hits in after some time. It's very easy for some people to say, oh, money is not the most important thing. But let's be honest, for some people, it is the most important thing depending on their situation. They're like, no, I just have to go to work and make this money because I have these reasons. I don't have time for this painting and guitar and pottery or whatever, we may feel like it's important. And maybe it's a passion, but they've just completely put it aside. So, what do you then think are some of the obstacles that people have and what stops them? And then we can talk about ways that they can sort of balance it out as well.
Right, right. See, one of the biggest challenge for people to even get started, or for that matter, think on the lines of, hey, you know what? Let me just earn money and all these things can come later.
Yeah.
That's the mindset that people generally have. Like, I want to become so rich, then once I've reached my destination of financial independence, then I can do all of those things.
Yes.
It's a mindset that has been encouraged. That's one of the biggest obstacle we have as a society and a culture. I'm not just talking about India, it's across the globe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like right from when you are a kid, you have to study hard to get either scholarships. If not, then you'll have to pay for your own education,
Yeah.
or you have parents who will work hard and toil hard to save for your education and so on and so forth. So it's a mindset which has to kind of be conditioned in a way where, what one can do without this mindset of, what, I need to get started. I need to get started is a great thought. It doesn't happen only because I am a big believer of minimalism.
Yeah.
I
me
don't
too.
know. Yeah, I don't know if that would work for everybody, but some amount of minimalism could actually help you to achieve your mental well-being in a sense. For example, a ton of folks are in that corporate mindset of, hey, I want to be a manager at this age, and then I want to I want to earn this CTC at that age, and so on and so forth. Milestones, so to speak. Chasing those milestones is a thing. But what happens is generally they are chasing those milestones. At the same time, their lifestyle is such that, I want to have all the things that I want in my lifestyle to be able to kind of feel good about myself.
Yes, absolutely.
But for a second, if you just thought to yourself that, what, I don't need all of these things, and which is what the pandemic actually helped understand, that, what, you don't really need all these luxuries that you have. Or you are actually pursuing, and that's when the whole, like, I know you talked about it in your past podcast, which people did not realize, is the whole great resignation happened because people, one, they started realizing to a certain extent that, hey, I don't need so many things in my life.
Yeah.
I could do without them, and then I'll go pursue my passion. Maybe it may give me a less amount of money, but mental well-being is much more there.
Absolutely.
So if you build towards that as a, one thing which I did not do but I do now, in the pandemic I took up a course, online course, to become a certified financial planner. That helped me understand so many things, the whole power of compounding. And now there are dime a dozen YouTubers, financial influencers, and so on and so forth talking about it. One thing is absolutely of essence: as you start your career, try to invest so that you don't have to, retire at the whole 58 age that we have in the country. And you never have to retire. In fact, you can keep doing what you want, and that will earn you the money as well, right? For example, if you've read the book Ikigai, it talks about the fact that, if you are doing something which you are happy doing, and you have to find the whole, it's a Venn diagram that you need to make, where you do something which is paying you money, at the same time you are happy doing it because you're enjoying that. For example, from the DC verse, Joker says, if you're good at something, why do it for free? Right? So if I feel that I'm good at public speaking, and I'm good at podcasting, or if I'm good at understanding the Web3 ecosystem, or for that matter, I was good at writing, I'll use that to my benefit, and I will actually earn money.
Put a price on it
as well, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
There are opportunities because of access. You can upskill yourselves. You can learn new things on your own. There's a whole, like, that's my end goal, or I'm almost there now. I could be there thanks to Web3 and the space that I'm in. I can work from anywhere, right? So I'm technically a digital nomad. We are, in fact, my partner and I. We're digital nomads. We could, we did a vacation sitting out of the mountains in the Himalayas, and we were working. There was high-speed internet there, and work is getting done. I'm enjoying beautiful views, my early morning coffee with a mountainous view. We can do that. Today's there is a great opportunity for businesses to encourage these kind of things, and people will not have that social stigma of, hey, I can't follow my passion or pursue my passion. You
Yeah.
can do that because now those opportunities have come, and I think there will be a lot of companies who will hybrid, who will give these opportunities
I
to
really
retain great
hope
talent.
so.
Otherwise, at the end of the day, it's a talent game.
I really, really hope so that that happens. I mean, me as a founder myself, an entrepreneur, somebody who manages a team, I I really believe that it's time that we move out of those old-fashioned ways of managing people
Yeah,
and
true.
try something new, because all I hear all day is people complaining about how they want people to, you know, feel like the company is their own and treat the company as their own. But
Yeah.
you treat the company as your own because it is your own, right? Like the people,
Absolutely.
your team members may not.
Absolutely.
And I love what you said about mindset,
Yeah.
right? But again, I do also want to sympathize and empathize with people who, money is a very big driving force. They could be the only people working in
True.
their
That's
homes.
true.
They have a lot of responsibilities, ailing parents. Like these are all real issues as well that, we have to look at. But here I'd want to say, start small. Start with 5 minutes a day. You don't have to go really
Absolutely.
big and have a YouTube channel or a podcast. I think you can start something very small if you like listening to podcasts, or if you're passionate about gardening. Start small, like maybe grow a lemongrass plant on your window and see it grow. I always think 5 minutes a day in what you like to do, not even a day, in whatever you want. Like I started painting, and I first of all, I live by my calendar. I think I must have said this so many times in all my
Yeah,
podcasts.
you know that.
My lunch is also in my calendar. Like
Oh my God.
everything. If I have to, if I write the flow for this podcast, it's put in my calendar,
Oh.
because otherwise I feel like nothing will get done. So that's how I operate. So I have this plan, and this is what I want to say about the obstacles that you have to follow your passion. You need discipline. You need
Right.
consistency. So now every Sunday at 6 o'clock
Yeah.
is when I do one of my hobbies,
Okay.
which is I do macrame, these plant hanging,
Oh, wow.
plant hangers that I
Nice.
make, and I do them every Sunday, and I have a time. 4 to 6 is when I'm going to do macrame, which
Superb.
means nothing else comes in the way. Friday night is when I do my painting, unless I'm going out, but I don't really go out much. So Friday night is when I do my painting, and nothing else happens during that time. So if you set a time for it, then it's that consistency and discipline that you have for things that you're passionate about, and you
Right.
start to do it.
Funny, you should mention that, because I was going to talk about something which I had spoken to with one of my colleagues back then. A lot of people talk about it as work-life balance,
Yeah.
right? Nobody says life-work balance, right? This is Bharat, who was one of our VPs back then,
Yeah.
and he kind of introduced me to this concept, and it really appealed to me because a lot of people put work first and then life.
Yeah.
The funny thing you mentioned is, you have a calendar for your life activities. That's a great effort
Yeah,
and initiative.
everything. If I'm going for a meeting, if I'm going for a store opening, if I'm going for a birthday party, it's all on my calendar, because work is part of my life.
Yeah.
It's not my life.
Right.
This whole thing is my life. And Srinivas, like for people who are hearing me and know me for years, this was not who I was. Like till 6 months ago.
Okay.
Everything changed in the last 1 year, not because of the pandemic, but I lost a very close family member, and that really changed the way I see life in general. And
It
you
gave you
have
perspective.
you have these epiphany moments, and it could be anything. It could be you walking on the road and a bike hitting you, and you're like, oh my god, or
Right.
losing somebody really close, or losing
Right.
your job. So many layoffs have happened, and you need to sit down and rethink, like calibrate everything about your life and prioritize what's important. So when we talk about obstacles, I have to just say you are the only obstacle that stops you from doing anything.
That's true.
If
That's
you
true.
really think about it,
No, it's
I know
also-
very profound.
No, I mean, it is, in a sense, at the end of the day, it's in your control.
Yeah.
See, but the thing is, a lot of people are talking about how today toxic positivity is also a bad thing, in a sense that people are only talking about, oh, go out and achieve this,
Oh no,
do
that
this, and
yeah.
all of those things
No.
are also in the works. And people talk about that, I don't want to listen to another guy
Yes.
yapping about how you can do things. Absolutely, don't listen to them. Do you what suits you.
Absolutely.
For you, a calendar might work. For some others, impromptu,
Yes.
they are doing it. Great,
5
do
minutes.
it. Right?
Yeah.
It's basically, it's sort of one quote that I remember from Bruce Lee. Right? The quest to truth is in action.
Yeah.
It's all about action.
Yeah.
And when to take the action is right now.
Yeah.
Just do it. Like, if you feel like doing it, great. Don't worry about it should be perfect or it shouldn't be.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Have fun. I
Yeah.
remember I started kickboxing a few months ago, and my trainer, he just he said something in Hindi. He said, because I was always thinking, right? I was always like seeing my kicks, and he said, "सोचोगे तो सोचते रहोगे." And it hit me, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Wait, I'm not having fun. I need to
Correct.
have fun." And the moment I started having fun, loosened up a little more. My body was like, because you have to trust your body.
Yeah.
People who say, I don't have a creative bone in my body, but I used to be one of those, right?
Yeah.
And now I paint and I do so many other creative things. It's
Yeah, it's self-limiting in a sense,
Yeah.
but true. And to address the point that you mentioned is about what kind of stigma people have is essentially more from a standpoint of being afraid of the fact that, like, it will deflect, or this whole following my passion will take me away from what I want to achieve. And there are folks
Yes.
who are very ambitious and
Yes.
want to kind of push towards a
Work,
certain
yeah.
target in their life and goals and whatnot. Long term is something which you think of it long term, like you have a lot of a time that you can do to achieve this goal. And I personally believe there's a lot of Western ideologies that kind of drive this. For example, and this is something which I had heard on a TED talk, a whole host of work culture in the West is influenced through Greek mythology, in terms of the whole concept that Western mythology follows is in the one life.
Yes.
Right? As opposed to Eastern philosophies, Eastern mythologies, whether it is Japan, India, China, wherever have you, we have many lives.
Yeah.
There's a whole host of time to do things, which also on the flip side affects the whole being on time on certain things and not being very disciplined.
Yeah.
We focus, in our cultures, we focus on why we are doing more than how we are doing.
Correct.
Whereas in Western ideologies, in corporate cultures across the West, it's more about how, which is why they are more focused towards processes, structure,
Yes.
and so many things
Yes.
that happen.
Yeah.
And in that bargain, you end up thinking that, hey, you know what, I have only one life, YOLO, as they say. I want to do this, do that. But you realize that, you never realize why you're doing it. Is it really making you happy?
What is it
Are you
about
really
that?
satisfied with
Yeah.
whatever you are doing? If not, then what can you do to change it? That's the mindset that needs to change in terms
Yeah.
of whatever you're doing in life, whether it is work, whether it is, a passion, that project that you've taken up, or if you think, and it's okay to fail. And
Oh,
it's okay to not
absolutely.
do it the rest of your life. So, for example, every year, like you mentioned, I took up gardening and farming some 6 years ago because I watched this TV show called Walking Dead. And I realized, you know what? Eventually, if at all there is a time like that, I'll have a life skill of growing crops and stuff. So, or for that matter, my eternal dream is to go into the mountains and just live there and grow my own crops and
Awesome.
be
Yeah.
self-sustainable. So that could come in handy. And then the next year I had a goal of learning something in the blockchain space.
Yes.
Because I was passionate about it,
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies. I dabbled at it back in 2016,
Yeah.
17. And today I have an opportunity, like I'm working in this space, and thanks to my learnings from that time, right? Similarly, public speaking is something which I picked up on in 2018 or 2019. That is helping me deliver these talks and whatever
Amazing.
have you.
Yeah.
So it's okay. You don't need to follow through on everything.
Yes.
Even if you do some bit of
And
it.
give it up, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll come in handy somewhere or the other. And don't need to have like an end goal of X, Y, and Z and just follow that and that will earn you money. There
Yeah.
are two schools of thoughts. One is, oh, you just quit your job and follow your passion, and then the other is, yeah, there is no concept called following your passion. It's all about the money. I think it can actually coexist. There
Yeah,
are things that you
for
can use
sure.
your skill set to help you follow your passion and do stuff. There's always a hard path to all of these things. But at the end of the day, if you are true to yourself and you understand that, you know what, this is what I want to do and I want to spend some time doing it, you will end up finding ways and means to sort of make that journey
Yeah,
happen.
right. You want to go to a friend's birthday party, you make it happen anyhow, no matter how
Yeah,
tired you
yeah,
are. So
yeah.
it's like that drive. And I really, I was just, we'll go on to the next question very quickly. We've been again hovering around it. So I also wanted to say what you said about there's no one at the end of this waiting to give you an award. Okay, you learned gardening, this award. Oh, you did painting, this award. Oh, you worked so hard and you put in all these hours. Yes, of course, money is a transactional reward that you get for working very hard. But eventually in life, if you feel like I don't people feel like this pressure that if they take up something they have to follow through. Oh, but it's fine. If one day you wake up and you're like, I don't feel like doing yoga anymore. I want to train to run the marathon, or you're like, I don't want to run anymore, I want to just learn, like go kayaking or go sailing, and that's okay to give it up. You have to be very gentle with yourself, right? I think you and I both
Yeah,
were talking about just like self-awareness and knowing what you and passion is driven by self-awareness, and at the end of the day
absolutely.
it cannot be something that you pressurize yourself into doing. Again, I think social media is another thing that pressurizes people, because you see everybody, somebody's a dancer, somebody's a yoga teacher, somebody's doing these workouts, somebody's doing deadlifts of like I don't know 170 kgs, and you're like, I want to achieve that. But this is your journey, right?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
my coach just told me, I don't know if I got that right, 170 kgs deadlift, but that's what he told me, I think.
Well, yeah, possible.
That's
There
possible,
are
right?
builders
I'm
who are
not just
doing it.
okay. Good.
I'm pretty certain there would
Otherwise,
be
I'm just
people.
talking rubbish, and people will be like, "What? Who is this
No, no,
person?"
no. Doable.
This is
Actually, it's
doable.
possible.
Okay. So then,
They're called
Srini,
power lifters, maybe, or just generally as well.
yeah. Okay. Cool. I just hope that makes some sense. So, Srini, then tell me, we talked about this because you've been in the corporate world. You are still working. I am always, on guard because I hire people, I mentor them through it. I have a very small team, but I like to be responsible for them. What do you think then is an employer's responsibility to make sure that their team is being able to, do both of these and follow their passion while they have their career?
Yeah. In fact, one of the things I would resonate back to what I heard on your podcast in the last one, Arjun mentioned, is to have empathy, to
Yeah.
understand what certain, he's your entrepreneur or intrapreneur, as I like to call. That person is passionate about certain things. He wants the flexibility. He or she want the flexibility to get into doing these things. Then one needs to have a framework or a mechanism to encourage that from a cultural standpoint. See, because honestly, today it's not so much about how focused a person is at the work that they are doing. It's also about the qualitative output of the kind of work they are doing, and that can only happen is if you are able to do things which are outside of work, which you have the flexibility and the ability to kind of dedicate time and do these things beyond just work, and don't be caught in this whole box of, oh, I'm just going to go to work, then go back home, work home. No, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows, not just in the pandemic,
Yeah, I think
but even
everybody
before
knows
as well,
this
right?
in their
And
head.
if
Yeah.
you have a framework to encourage that, that is a great thing. The onus is on the employer, the founders, the business owners to kind of give that in whichever way you can. And I've seen that happen a lot in digital agencies where I spent about good
Yeah.
12 years working in a couple of them. And in fact, I was fortunate enough back then when I told my employer, or rather my founder, that, you know what, hey, I want to take time out to pursue my passion for travel blogging. I want to travel the country and do stuff, which is why I might take some time off or I might just resign and whatnot. He was like, no, you can do this. We'll give you some flexibility in terms of, you travel about 10 days in a month, or say once every 3 months you go travel, and then we'll give you that added flexibility, because they understood that, hey, this talent is good to retain, and with whatever other time that they are with the organization, they will definitely help build their goal and their vision, and because they are taking it as their own goals, right? If a person wants to pursue this, then you will have to create frameworks to be able to do it in whichever way. And of course, like you rightly mentioned, you have to earn it, because I spent a good amount of time, and I believe
it's a two-way street. Everything is a two-way street.
Right? So you show that, hey, you're important. Sometimes I've seen people take leaves to just no. Thankfully, I have not seen that happen.
Just overall, I think that is the scare that employers have, that the
Correct.
people will take advantage of it. But
The most amount of scare that people have is employers will be like, if I do it with him, everybody will come asking me for this kind of a benefit.
But is that
I'm
a bad
like, give
thing?
it.
Yeah, is that
why
a
not?
bad thing?
It's a great thing,
It's a
right?
great thing.
I'd been to one bar camp, which used to happen. They were unconferences, and there was a talk about someone who's traveled the world, and that person said, you know what, don't sometimes you can negotiate when you have your appraisals and stuff. If you really want to travel the world or travel the country and whatnot, negotiate on the time off. Why do you have to negotiate on the money always?
Yes.
Right? If you're talented enough,
Yes.
there are many employers who will, you can negotiate on time for yourself and say that, hey, this is what I want, and pursue that.
Whatever's important to you, whatever's priority to you. Money is not a priority to you for whatever reason. Ask for other things.
And the employer, if he has the empathy and understanding that, hey, this can be done, create a framework for it. I've seen people take time off to, like, I know of a guy who just took leave because he wanted to become a football coach.
Yeah.
Right? He's the national creative director of Kinect now.
Oh, lovely.
So he took time off to spend some time learning to coach football for kids and stuff like that, because he was passionate about football. And he has skill sets of he's a rapper, so he does rap videos and stuff like that, right? And that helps, because once we did a whole campaign which involved rap and artists and music, and so that helps in the work as well. So that kind of an ecosystem is what an employer created, that Kinect created back then.
That is so true. If you give people to go and you have a multifaceted person who is coming with all these experiences that they have, whether it's coaching kids, whether it's doing a rap video, all of that is going to bring in some extra skills that doesn't come from the training that you do in digital marketing or on their resume, right? These are all extras about them. And that is so right. And I love what you said, what Connect did about rewarding people to go in. So I'm just quickly going to give some tips to, like, if there are any employers listening over here, you can do very simple things, right? You can do a competition about, like, how many steps you cover in the week. And whoever covers the most amount of steps.
We had a client like that called Stepathlon.
Yes, I know of that, right?
Stepathlon did this whole exercise.
And you can reward people and be like, okay, because you've completed your steps. So you're encouraging this. Also,
Absolute.
You can encourage people to leave at 5:30 or 6:30 or whenever, and say, whoever leaves at this, like, finishes their work at 5:30,
efficiency is what matters, right?
In the past, you would reward people for never having a day off. Oh my God!
7 o'clock was half day back then.
Like,
I know of those.
If you left at a certain time, your boss would look at you and say, "Oh, half day today, mate." Because I used to work in New Zealand, but I had a great boss. But it's just
things have changed, thankfully, for the better. But there are many industries and many places which still need this encouragement to give to their team members, so to speak. But I think bottom line is, at the end of the day, it's more about it's not so much about how many hours a person is working. It's about how efficiently they are getting work done.
Hours. Yeah.
And how they are happy and they are enjoying their work at the same time they are doing a ton of other things in their life which they want to pursue. There could be people who don't really have, they just want to chill on weekends, and that's also okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Everything is okay.
Exactly.
Everything is okay.
So it's just a matter of understanding, creating that culture, that ecosystem, which I had a great opportunity building myself also in Kinect. And
that's awesome.
that was called Kinect Edge, which we termed as Enhanced Development Growth Ecosystem.
Oh, I love it.
Where in fact we trained people and we gave them opportunities to learn things
Other
outside of
things.
work. We rewarded them to do stuff which is outside of work. In fact, we had these, we used to, book football,
Yeah.
basketball, cricket turfs and stuff every week. People used to go play. We had cricket tournaments, which
Yeah.
that was like the biggest bonding activity in the
Yes,
company, which we
absolutely.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
So these kind of exercises, activities we did from time to time helped.
Yeah.
People learnt a few things. We had guitar workshops, and
Yeah.
we had bakers, in the in-house bakers. We did like a whole bake sale on one day.
Yeah, and if you
Those kind of
involve
things.
them in those activities, they
Right.
feel even more
Empowered,
connected to
yeah,
the
and
team, right? Don't get someone from the outside. If you want to do like an employee engagement thing, check in
True.
your own team and your own company who plays the guitar, who does baking, and then you see that they're so passionate about it. Like, yeah, I'll do this and I'll curate this, and they'll come
Yeah,
up with ideas,
yeah.
right? So then you're like really
Right.
creating that
and
environment.
and creating this whole ownership ecosystem is what I believe matters.
Oh, yes, 100%.
This in the current job that current place of work where I'm in, EPNS, which is a remote company, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's your hours, right? People are working different hours. As long as you're getting it's very independent also,
Yeah.
so that helps.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to kind of go to this LAN event, which is a gaming event, and I wrote an article about it on Social Samosa as well
Nice.
recently. And I was able to do that because I had the flexibility in terms of
Yes.
working my hours.
Yeah.
In the morning, I used to work early in the morning. I used to work, and in the evenings, I used to go watch gamers play video games and enjoy that. At the same time, I
Yeah.
made videos out of it and whatnot. I could do that because I had that flexibility. In places where you have the flexibility, please, go ahead and give it lavishly, in a sense where for a fact, if you have trust and you build that trust within your within your team members, they will give you back 100 times. That's a
Yeah,
true
if you're
belief.
happy, oh my God, you're gonna come with a different view, right, at work. And I
Yeah.
also think like even HR managers need to sort of start pushing the buck when it comes to having that kind of culture, because we're always talking about great workplace culture, great workplace culture, great work. But what are we doing to enhance that, right?
Actually, on that same note, a lot of times workplace culture became cool because of I'm getting free food or free this, free that, but that's actually
Goes
not
beyond
culture.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes beyond that.
These are benefits.
These are benefits, and culture is more to do with how a person is growing, right? At Connect, in fact, we had this amazing thing. We did it for about 3 or 4 times every 6 months, and that was a major breakthrough for me, and I think it should be encouraged across. Uh, there was this. There was this one conference, or no, it's not even a conference. There was a life transformation festival, personal growth festival that was called Life Plugin. What Connect did was we tied up with them.
I've
and
heard of them. I was thinking
yeah.
of actually going to one of them. It looks like a
You
lot
should.
of fun.
You should. There's one probably happening
Yeah.
in October in
They
Goa.
do, yeah, quite often,
It's
right?
very good. It's very you have these breakthrough moments there. It's personal wealth and rather personal wellness and in a sense, yeah, you're building your
Awareness,
personal
yeah.
growing yourself. So it's sort of wealth in a sense.
Yeah, so it's called plug-in, right?
Life plugin.
Life plugin.
Yeah.
For everybody who wants to know, because I got a notification
Right,
on
right.
Instagram.
So we did this. I had that whole, Rohan, my co-founder, and at Connect, he's like, you know what, keep some time in so and so dates. We are going somewhere, and he took some of our team members there,
Yeah.
and we did that every 6 months. And essentially, there's a whole host of global speakers who will come. We'll do a whole host of activities which are revolving around personal growth. It's health,
So you
mental.
did this?
Yes,
Oh,
I did
wow.
3-4 times. We did it for our employees as well,
That's
right?
amazing. I'm
rather
definitely gonna
connectors.
try. I've always been wanting to like ask someone how it
Yeah,
was.
it's
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
It's beautiful. You get to, you have breakthrough moments. That's when I learned the whole first time around. My goal was health, and physical
Yes,
health.
yes.
At the same time, mental health in a sense. That's when I got the whole, that's when I started meditating. I had mental breakthroughs, wellness, and I lost a ton of weight. I was overweight back then, and had high cholesterol, and I focused and channelized my energies, and I had like a huge breakthrough moment. Then next up, we went for this another event in Shimla where we had ice baths and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
There are a lot of these other, if you're fond of personal growth, and Mind Valley is also a big, company that does these kind of events. This actually cropped from there.
Yeah.
My founders had gone to Awesomeness Fest, which happens across the world,
Oh wow.
different
Yeah,
countries,
yeah, yeah.
different times. These are these 4 or 5 days boot camps where people meet some really interesting people across the world, really amazing speakers who give you insights, on a big bunch of things. We
That's
had the sports
amazing.
scientist Shamil. He did a few talks, and we have on fitness front. There were the head of fitness at Mind Valley, Ron. They gave some hacks on how to body hack and so on and so forth.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I think that's a great these kind of initiatives, if employers take, it goes a long way, because people, when they come back, they're rejuvenated. At the same time, they have breakthrough moments which impact positively towards work.
Yeah, and one of the sorry, one of the questions that I always get from founders is the money aspect of it, right? Because all of this is expensive, and I have the same advice that I have for people that we were talking about in jobs: start small. 5 minutes. That is my rule for everything.
True.
Like every time you feel like you can't do something, start with 5 minutes. Start with something small. So when we wanted to encourage a workplace culture in my office that encouraged people to sort of bond with each other and just chill at work rather than just being hyper all the time and I have to finish this and after I bought badminton sets and every day at lunch I would say, hey, do you guys want to go play badminton downstairs? Because if I don't encourage that, who's going to?
Yeah.
And we would go down and we would play badminton and we did not say like, oh, we're going for half an hour, we're going. And I noticed that my team was taking calls while they were playing badminton. Like if somebody called them and they could take a call and they were. And I never said, let's go up now, it's done. And when I was tired, I'm like, okay, I'm going. And then I never said, oh, why are you coming? We have coloring books in my office and I see everybody, coloring through the day. Never have I, of course, this is like, I'm talking about employer initiatives, right? Never have I gone and said, oh, you didn't work today so much or we've not met our targets, why are you coloring? Because you need to be aware of all these things. If you want to encourage it, you have to, if you make a decision, you have to make one,
True.
properly and you have to stick by it. Then you can't go back and forth and make people feel guilty because you made a decision. We have a library as well in my office. I don't know if you noticed it, where people can just grab books. So now at lunchtime, I see everyone reading a book, and it makes me so happy because I feel like maybe they don't have time for it at home, or maybe. And we were talking about like what can employers do to encourage this. You can do small things. Doesn't have to be the plug-in life. It can be very, very small things.
Yeah.
So then, Srini, we're gonna quickly conclude on this because I think we've had a really good, fulfilling conversation. But what are your tips for people who want to pursue their passion but also have a full-time job? Let's say maybe 3 tips that you would like to give somebody who's like, nah, this is never going to happen for me because they are like...
Yeah, I'm going to flip this on you. What are your tips?
Oh my God, I'm full of tips.
Because if I just start talking, I'll just go on and on. But let me ask you this: what do you think, based on your experience, working and now being a founder and doing the business? So, what do you think are certain things that founders or employers can take to help, have this ecosystem where people can follow their passion and, enjoy the work that they are doing too?
Srini, I have to say this, and not to be boastful or anything. My sense of self, I do not want to use the word selfish, is very high. And I feel like the one tip I want to give everybody, no matter who they are, no matter what situation they may be, whether they are employed, whether they are unemployed, whether they are founder, whatever, you need to put yourself first. That is the number one tip for anybody I would give in life, at work. You need to put your mental wellness, your health, your priorities, what you like. And outside of the world, people may call you selfish, but you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
If you are not fulfilled, if you're not happy, if you're not doing things that make you feel good, you cannot do anything.
It's an ancient Zen philosophy
for anyone. I'm an ancient person.
No, it is beautiful. Like, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
So
like,
the world will make you feel guilty all the time. Liz, you're so selfish. Liz, you don't have time for me. Liz, you only think about yourself. Liz, you're so ambitious. Liz, you're like, but hey, if I'm not getting what I want, I can't give to anyone else. So that would be my first tip. My second tip is, I know that this is hard, but again, everybody anybody asks me, how can I do it? And all the hard things, that my reply is, do it politely. Ask for what you want. I love what you said when you're in the negotiation stage. If you are passionate about something, so I have a person that works for me, and she's a yoga teacher. And during my one-on-ones now, it's come up a few times where because she's training people for yoga,
Right.
she doesn't get time to practice herself. And it is worrying me a little bit that somebody that I've hired is not getting time to do something that they love. So I'm
Showing empathy, that is.
yeah.
You are.
So yeah. So but also she's not asked for it from me. So, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to give it to her because she's not asked. I've identified and I've had this chat with her saying, you need to come up with a plan. Let me
Right.
know. Do you want to leave early? Do you want to come later? And she's like, well, I'll come up with something and I'll tell you. But I made that conversation happen because I'm empathetic. But if you have a boss who's not thought about it because they're too busy, doesn't mean that you can't ask.
Absolutely.
Ask for the little things. At the most, what will happen? They'll say no. This is like those Insta memes. So, and my third
Yeah.
tip would be, don't compare yourself to anyone. Your journey is so unique to
True.
you.
True.
You may see someone who is putting in 5 hours a day in doing things that they love and working for 2. But if you need to put in 12 hours a day working and maybe putting in half an hour into what you love doing, just because that's where your life is right now.
Correct.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be like comparing yourself constantly, because your journey is so unique to you. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. I know these are all like really mushy, hard things, but I feel like with discipline and a good calendar, it can
Calendar
be
works,
done.
doesn't work. I don't know, but yeah.
It can be done. So that's me, Srini.
Superb,
Thank you
superb.
so much for giving me. I hardly get a chance to talk during my podcast, but I'm full
No,
of.
it's a conversation,
full
right?
of,
I always want to do a conversation than a
yeah.
Q&A,
Yeah.
so to speak. But actually, I don't have like many tips, to be very honest. One simple advice that I would give, which I followed, is if you want to do it in that moment. And it's okay not to be perfect. You will get perfect over a period of time. And it's okay to not have like an end goal, which will be like, oh, you know what, I want to create the whole thing out of this, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to follow my passion. No, it's all right. If you fail, you fail. If you don't, you don't. You keep doing stuff. More often than none, you will enjoy what you're doing, and it will become something. And you might find new things along the way also. To close up, I think close this, I wanted to kind of share one inspirational quote I had in mind, which is from a movie which I watched, and it's also probably a book, I think. I don't know.
What
This
is
guy,
the movie?
the movie is called The World's Fastest Indian.
Oh, I
Indian the
love
bike.
it. It's shot in New Zealand, and I lived in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's
Done
of
it,
a guy from New Zealand who goes all
Yeah.
the way. So this guy is probably 60 plus,
Yeah.
and Anthony Hopkins plays that.
Yeah,
He
he's
plays
an
that role.
incredible actor.
Yeah, called
Yeah.
Burt Munro. The
Yeah.
guy, the guy's name is Burt Munro, and Anthony Hopkins plays that character. He's probably 60 plus. He has a heart condition, but he's a avid, race biker. Like biking is what he's passionate about, and he wants to race. He has an Indian. Indian is it's a bike.
Type of bike,
So he wanted to go to Utah, which is on the Salt Plains. Wanted to race there, and he just wanted to race, right? Eventually, he ended up. This is way back when transportation was very,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not like in the 40s or 50s. I don't know, probably around that time. He takes his bike on a ship. Because he doesn't have the money to pay for it, he cooks on the ship.
And New Zealand is very far. Just to
Yeah,
give
yeah.
people perspective
Of course.
for going anywhere from New
Far.
Zealand.
Interestingly, he hadn't even seen or heard of concept of rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
Zealand is like, there are barely any snakes
There are no
there.
snakes
No
because
snakes.
it's volcanic land.
Right.
Also, Kiwis are not like super well traveled because
Yeah.
again they're very secluded from
Correct,
everywhere.
correct.
So that's
So
another
this
thing.
guy, he has this saying that, if you don't follow through on your dreams, you might as well be a vegetable. And I don't mean it in a insensitive way, but that is something that struck with me in a sense that, what, do whatever you like, just follow through on your dreams, and then you will almost often get a positive outcome out of it. No matter if it's small or big, doesn't matter. Just follow through, do it. And then you'll realize, how good you are at it, or how big you want to make that dream come true,
Yeah.
and how constant you are at achieving these kind of goals you have for yourself.
Yeah.
You'll just go with the flow.
Everything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something which I wanted to share. And by the way, this guy became he has highest world record for speed racing, and he did it not just once but thrice, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he still holds that record.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, that kind
Yeah.
of achievement is what he's world renowned, and they made a movie out of him. So yeah.
I love success stories. I love it. And like I said, right, like those inspirational motivation videos that you love, it really hypes you up. But then when reality sets in, so it's up to you to know your reality and work with around
True,
it. You know,
true.
you don't have to do something crazy and all that. You know your reality. Try and fit in the things that you like. You know, it doesn't have to
Absolutely.
be crazy big, but yeah, eventually it can be as well. You know, like I said, everything goes. Just find
Yeah.
your flow and see what you're comfortable with. But
True
thank
that.
you so much, Srinivas. This was a great conversation. I hope everybody who has thought about, or maybe had that, has not been encouraged before to go for their passion. I know, like our parents, even when we are growing, right, when we say we are playing football, they're like, football play karke kya hoga? Or they'll be like, no, do science in college and you can do all the other things on the side. And you're like, no, but I'm passionate about video games. You all day you can't play video games. But look at the video game industry today.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
many things that our parents, first of all, parents, if you're listening, so many things that you're said not to do is now become like massive, like makeup artists.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Parents, like for women, would be like, don't stand in front of the mirror all the time. All day you're just doing it. And today, to be a makeup artist is
It's a profession.
unbelievable. People love it. People look up to them. So let's
Yeah.
not think about, let's think about the future and where we could be. But thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
It
It was
really,
great fun.
really good. I hope everybody, got some sort of encouragement. And of course, if they want to reach out to any of us, our email addresses are there. If you want to reach out to Srinivas for anything that you've heard him say on this podcast, he does a lot of stuff. Please email us.
You
and
could just
we'll connect.
or you could just look up Srini Stuff.
Yeah.
That's my web alias on everywhere. That's my personal brand. So Srini Stuff.
I'll put it on the podcast
Yeah,
in case
sure,
anybody
show
wants
notes.
to get in touch with you for any of the other amazing things that you're
Yeah,
doing.
sure
But
thing.
thank you
was
so
good
much.
fun.
Thank you guys. Thanks for listening in. And I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.